Amidst the crossfire of politics, social upheaval, economic woes, and the aftermath of COVID sits a small, faded pearl. A pearl which was never meant to be a crown jewel, nor a cultural fixture. A compact, ill-colored amalgamation of units. Sagewood Apartments, for all of its innate limitations, isolations, and crude insignificance, is a dark star. A cooled center whose luminosity has peaked and valleyed since it opened in 2007. It's a quaintly storied place, in which the experience of living in has been a precariously and slowly paced burn. Sagewood resident by now is, in some form or another, a hardened creature, each resident encased by a crusty social shell that, to crack even just one, would be a feat, let alone the entire complex. But theoretically, to reignite the dark star, to crack the apartment's crust, would be to open the floodgates to social transformation. It would be to make Sagewood Apartments the epicenter of hope. But before we can do that, we have to answer, what is hope? According to this sign, hope grows where miracles blossom. Now, that's very sentimental, but it feels like we're reading this at the wrong time. It reads more like the conclusion or the empirical data to a process we have yet to actually experience for ourselves. Where hope grows, miracles blossom. It gives us no insight into the dynamic of hope in our everyday lives and experiences. And how the hell do you get miracles to blossom in the first place? See, while hope is often portrayed as this special power or feeling that heroes unlock at their lowest, hope is more than a feeling. Sure, by definition, hope is the belief in things yet to come, but we don't draw on hope like other emotions, because it functions more like a substance. Hope is the most devastating of drugs. It is infinitely diminishing, dwindling slowly but surely, every day, yet until death never ceases. It sounds like a contradiction. This undying force is constantly being thrashed, crushed, wounded. It's an especially cruel blade in the arsenal of human emotions. It's something we constantly use to push us forward, even though it can be used to hurt us back. But why does this relationship, this dynamic matter when it comes to my crusty apartments or the world at large? Well, when trying to build a plan of attack for the future, you have to understand that hope existed in the past. It's here now and will be there in the future. When trying to change the world, you also have to know that the real battleground is in the dreams of the past, the delusions of the present, and the hopes for the future at war with the expectations of those who hold power. Which is why fighting is so hard. Because no matter how hard you fall, hope persists. Even when you have every reason to throw in the towel, move to the woods, hide in a bunker, or just go falling down, their hope teases you that maybe, just maybe, I've lived in these apartments since 2007. It's been mostly laid back. Yes, I am! Get it! Okay, there's been shenanigans along the way, but for a while now, things have been quiet. I mean, it used to be such a problematic, annoying, loud-ass neighborhood. I miss it. For over 10 years, Sagewood was a close-knit, lively community, with some ups and some downs. Every day, kids would play outside, whether it was after school or during summer break. Since its inception in 2007, all the way through the early 2010s, it was not uncommon to go outside any given day and see tribes of kids engaging in silly antics. Families like the Lopez's, Vargas, and Preciados all engaged on a regular basis. The Samba brothers were the most popular kids in town, and community amenities like the pool and park were maintained and fresh. See, our little hidden neighborhood enclave in the suburbs, the apartments, were a hidden gem of social dynamisty. Fellow kids full of energy and areas to explore was what I could look forward to after long days of history, math, and science lessons. The apartment antics that I've engaged in were more than just an escape, but more importantly, a social practice ground. Now, this kind of social practicing was different from the kind you'd get at school. How you acted here in Sagewood was not how you'd act at school most of the time. Because of how physically isolated and generally unsupervised we were as kids, our inhibitions were without restriction almost. I mean, one moment you could be talking about Beyblade, SpongeBob, anime, not me though. And then next moment you could be talking about sports, sex, drugs. Okay, and then hearing your friend get yelled at by their mom all within like a 10-minute span. And you'd be doing all this with kids older than you, younger than you, the same age, all of you riding scooters and bikes, all within the same circle. This kind of socialization wasn't as common in schools because the structure is a lot more rigid. It's more focused on prepping you for college, doing specific extracurriculars a certain way, being monitored all the time. None of that stuff like college preparation and status really mattered in Sagewood, as did any other place that had playing outside as a thing. And while you still could get made fun of, it didn't ruin your chances of going back outside unless you're really sensitive. Sorry, Chris. Sagewood was just different. All the way until 2017, this lifestyle of going out every day and doing the dumbest shit imaginable was just the norm for us. A norm that was the countrywide norm 20 years earlier. And while there were other communities like us, and still to this day, they're a lot more spaced apart. We were part of the last breath of a dying lifestyle. For a decade, there was growing life. Then, in an instant, it was quiet. It was always my ambition to turn Sagewood into an ever-improving community. It was everything to me. What the hell happened? In 2018, I wrote down an 8-part thesis describing the reasons why our community was dying. Now, a lot of these changes were occurring before COVID-19. I called it the failure of the first batch. And I really harped on my individual and our collective failings as a community. If we had just acted differently or thought differently, then today, our apartments would be more lively. We'd have street life, new renovations, improvements. It'd be growing instead of being a ghost town. 5 out of the 8 points deal the blame to our own habits, growth, and neighborhood's leadership. But let's take the good old conservatives approach to this. We'll attribute these society-wide issues to personal responsibility. If we had just simply made better choices, properly examined our cultural and moral failings, then surely we would have inhabited a better present and future by now. It's that simple, right? Just make better choices. Where did I go wrong as an individual back then? Let's see. Oh yeah, I was a huge prick. Well, let's look at the conditions we were making our choices under. The explosion of social media normalcy. Make this a little simple. Snapchat came out 2011, became popular in my apartments around 2015. Then we never looked back. It's like we got digitally colonized. We used to be like a little tribe. We'd run around with very little clothing on as kids. Okay, that sounds wrong. And we'd go knock on each other's doors. We'd run around with sticks. And then Snapchat came out, and it was just, we started wearing skinny jeans and just sending each other a DM if we wanted to hang out or something. Could we have used social media to try to enhance our in-person experiences? Yes, but that's not what social media is designed for. Number 4, the first batch of kids growing old. What can I say? You get older, your interests and your hobbies change. You're probably not playing tag in your 20s and 30s still. And, we just decided, what? High school is probably the better place to showcase our skills and our talents, right? Not outside by that fucking green tape. Number 5, the collective nah. And whenever we brought a big ambition up, we would just say, nah, we'll do it later, because as kids we thought there's always time to go back to it, right? So if we had been more forward thinking, maybe we could have done more. And then number 7, residential shifts. Of the things we could control, though we couldn't control who moved out and when, you're left with the choice. When your buddies move out, you have to decide, okay, is it worth staying? And if I am staying, is it worth even trying to keep anything like we had back then alive if the people you did it with are not there with you? So you just let it slide. You let it get quiet. And the last point of the things that we could control, the lie. Very early on hint at a cultural understanding, a sociological understanding of how broader attitudes of behavior can influence our own actions. We second-guessed ourselves. As we got older, we believed the lie that going out was only for kids. You have to outgrow it. We're told both subliminally and directly, playing out and having fun in your neighborhood is for kids. You gotta get ready for college. Both school and even our parents constantly lamented. So we gave in. If we had been more critical as kids about this sentiment, maybe we would have changed. But I mean, look at the things going against us. That wasn't gonna happen. The greater Stonebridge area was voted the least walkable neighborhood in our city. When your regime changes, when the staffing for your leasing office goes from 2 managers, a full staff, after-school program to just 2 people and a maintenance man. What do you expect the upkeep to look like? Oh, and also the 2008 recession and economic shifts. I wonder what happened in the aftermath of all that.
What we're gonna do.
I'm going to a town.
Growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus officially hitting the U.S. Here's what we know.
I'm going to a place that has already been described.
Day. We are announcing and introducing a regional stay-at-home order.
Back in this country, home prices are shattering records, especially in stores.
I want to give them better health care at a much lower price because Obamacare
he doesn't know how to
I've
do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never.
Minneapolis police officer accused of murdering George Floyd had a court appearance today, along with 3 others accused of aiding and abetting.
I'm gonna make it up for all of the nursery rhymes.
We never stood a chance. We never stood a chance as kids, and we're never expected to stand a chance as adults. And two, we were never supposed to be able to make anything with the shitty hands we've been dealt. Our failings, they're not just reflective of our own personal shortcomings, but also the structures, the cultural walls that surround us. So then how the hell can you have hope for a future that's based off a present that's so woven with the past so horrible that it still haunts us? Don't lean on hope as a motivator, and don't use hope to try to keep you being optimistic consistently. Instead, keep hope in orientation. Use it as like the centerpiece to which your personal and historical dialogue kind of orbits around, but you don't draw on it. Think about the moments you had hope and the times that those hopes were shattered, and then ultimately think about the circumstances around those moments. Ultimately, you can only do this from the present, and you create this historical dialogue with the past and the future like this. So step 1, you write about the present. You say, man, I suck, my family sucks, my community sucks, my country sucks, society sucks, you suck. Then you start asking questions about the future. You go, man, will things be this bad in a few years? Well, could they get worse? How could they get worse? Could they get better? Then, while you're waiting for the answers to those questions, you go back and read old writings. You listen to older music, watch older movies, engage with the dialogue with the past of people who likely shared a lot of the same anxieties as you. Then, after a few years, when your questions for the future become a sucky-ass new present, you do it all over again. And you can do it on different scales, connecting them at each step, your country, society, the world. And once you've done all this, assuming you don't have mental health issues, congratulations, you're now a sociologist. Well, okay, not quite. You still need to get good at using that. Let's do a very cringe-inducing case study. Someone who committed to this exercise for the past few years. There's this YouTube channel called Albert. Some dumbass wanted to make it a means of living. And what did this dumbass talk about the past few years? Well, let's start with recently. When I go out and look at the world from every possible angle, it's the same depressing story. Hope deferred makes the heart sick. This much has been fulfilled tenfold for us, and tenfold again for every additional hope. It is comical. The amount of delay, the constant denial of mobility. Socially, many are denounced even the faintest of acceptance. Economically, all but the most entrenched in advantage must earn an infeasible wage. We carry not only the burden of our own choices, but also the waste of the wealth owners. Hope deferred makes the mind tick. The days fall promptly like the petals of a withered daisy, not to be picked up, never to be touched again. Days spent working for the fulfillment of earthly burdens, nights spent awake fulfilling one's own lucid ambition, sleep spent clashing the contrivances of our own existence. Yet there is no rest, for rest grants recovery, and there is no living, for life grants knowledge. Damn, pretty dire. Let's see what he said back in 2022.
I'm already losing my hair out of rage of all the horrible things that are happening.
Jeez, how about 2021?
As far as the main plot thread in the economy goes, billionaires are the main character. And whether you've ever worked a shift at Starbucks, Walmart, Amazon, or anywhere really, you come to realize that we're just a bunch of replaceable extras. Not even the supporting cast. Those are politicians.
Damn, okay, how about a bit earlier?
Everything's gonna be great, right? Wrong.
Damn, bro's such a downer. I'm gonna play the optimist here right now. Let me see. Come on, guys. Things are bad right now, but if we just vote blue no matter who and donate to the right causes, then surely by the end of 2024, Trump will be gone and all will be restored to the way they were back in 2016, right?
Wrong. Listen, I don't know how to tell you all, but did you know that hardships can last more than 1 year? Did you know they can last 2 years?
Damn, okay. I guess I'm done being the optimist, but let me be critical of this past doofus here, all right? What the hell do we do now?
Now, one of the best ways to handle a future like this is by taking a critical look back at the past. Now, there's two main ways that people casually do this. There's the romanticizer, someone who takes a look at all their positive personal experiences and conjures up a sort of glory days image. Then there's the forgetter, someone who tries to go about by losing as many connections as possible to the past, to forego dealing with embarrassment, trauma, or just shame. See, they're both processes of selective memorization, and in both cases, the desire to compartmentalize every aspect of the past into good or bad stems from the fact that they're really the only processes we're equipped with in dealing with our histories. Corporate entities then can have the fun of, shaping and influencing the mainstream. I mean, these big corporations thrive on being able to make media catchy, a little fun, and even annoying for the moment, but then sold back to us later as nostalgia.
So if we made something ourselves that detailed what it's felt like living the past 2 decades for us, we wouldn't need businesses to sell us back our own memories. What the hell do we do now?
We're gonna fight like hell and Keller. We're gonna write like there's no tomorrow, and the only thing that can stop us is arthritis or carpal tunnel.
Okay, but our apartments and hope, blah, blah, blah. How can people use that for their own homes, their own dinky communities?
Chances are, though, that your hometown, city, or neighborhood has more artistic and creative prospects than Burbank, Hollywood, and Compton combined.
Okay, so what? Creative people come from shitty communities all the time. How does roping your neighbors into your shenanigans help anything?
Ideally, the opportunity to grow as a creator comes directly to you. We don't have to pack up our bags and go to LA just to network with tweaked out Weinsteiners all to get a side role in a Colgate commercial. It may take a few years, maybe even several more decades, but at some point, LA will no longer be the entertainment epicenter of the world.
And why can't we just work within the system to change things for the better?
If there's anything this pandemic has shown us now more clearly than ever, it's that our government, our institutions, our infrastructure, our education fundamentally fold under the weight of any significant unaccounted for change.
Okay, cool. So our collective arts can be the canvas for change, right? But remember, our collective memories are terrible. How do we address that? Nothing changes if we forget every 2 fucking...
The reason why we suck at collective memory is not because of human nature, but because these are really the only ways we're allowed to remember things. In the process of romanticizing and then forgetting actively disconnects the realities of the past from the present, making us act as if the present is always a clean slate to which our previous elations and depressions alike have little to no bearing on. With whatever's in your pockets, or your house, or your neighborhood, we can make stories that reflect ourselves, and more importantly, where we fit in all of this.
Alright, that's all fine and dandy. That's all, everyone's got their buddies, we all got our cute little talents. But we also got work, we got bills, ills, drama, trauma. How do we set up for change? It's not like SpongeBob set up a framework for us.
Taking a job as a fry cook for minimum pay, he has erased all immediate suspicion. He's just out there collecting indictments on all the rich folks. SpongeBob loves his friends. SpongeBob isn't making connections so he can get promoted, but rather so he has a vast pool of brothers and sisters to help him battle the status quo. Building up an army, not with indoctrination, rather with meaningful proximation. He finds unique ways to connect with people he knows. His job is getting everyone in Bikini Bottom to interact in ways they normally wouldn't, so that they feel they have agency or basic humanity. He's breaking racial barriers. Mrs. Puff and Mr. Krabs. Pay attention to you, girl. SpongeBob is just waiting for the system to run out of schleps to fool. It's a matter of time until everyone is authentically on board with SpongeBob's mission. Only then can he commence stage 4. But a big caveat to achieving change has been, well, we need things to go back to normal first, and then we can start changing. So things are going to go back to normal.
Yeah, and things have been normal since lockdown ended. But you could argue that hope, it's still elusive, maybe even more now than it was during the lockdowns. The price is everything. It's getting worse.
It's that feeling when the suckiness of normalcy sets in real hard.
Okay, so when do we start?
We can't always wait for a green light. We left so many ambitions on the table because We were waiting for like a more appropriate or better time to start them. I mean, you really shouldn't just wait for good to win out or for change to happen for you. But at the same time, I can't just tell you to go out there and be the change you want to see or change the world, because truth is you probably can't do it, at least not on your own. You need a lot of help. We need a lot of help.
Why not just set, personal goals for ourselves, personal responsibility. See, if there's anything I learned in 2022, it's that as soon as you set goals, the world tries to send as many obstacles as possible so that you either accomplish them miserably or die trying. Oh, okay, just because it's hard. Doesn't mean it's not worth it, right? We have practically zero capacity to change things individually, and our collective efforts are always squashed by attitudes of realism or the idea that anything that doesn't make you money or secure you benefits is just a waste of time. So you admit that this whole idea is just because we're not smart enough to figure out some real solutions. Pessimists are right? Mobility is often lauded as a process of self-determination, an earned journey. Yet it functions more so as a commodity, one in which fewer and fewer people, in my generation especially, are able to earn, and even fewer are going to be awarded it. Then fatalists are correct, right? There's no point. It's hopeless. So you might be thinking, well, what's the point of setting goals then if the things that make them feasible or accomplished or not are the result of things out of our control? And yeah, maybe when you think of goals as individual barometers of your progress and self-worth, and yeah, they can seem kind of pointless. But when you think of goals as tangible things that you can do as part of a bigger picture, then they become a lot easier to deal with even when you fail.
Basically what I'm saying is, don't wait, do something, except you can't really, but you kind of have to. I hope this helps.
We'll do what's necessary, 'cause even a miracle needs a hand.
Why hope then? Mobilization, art, action, the mechanisms for hope, they can happen in unlikely places. The goal then is not personal ascension or wealth, but it's to turn places of woe and worry into Sagewoods, into places we want to be for a time, a place to rewrite the script for tomorrow. We hijack the dialogue of our struggle by spending today writing the odysseys of tomorrow. We rewrite the collective script through our crafts, the writings, the drawings, laughing at the coding. Then we do all these things in our places of torment, turning them into third places to become together. At first, I chalked the loss of our community to a personal failing on my part. I didn't do enough. Then I chalked it up as a community moral failing. We in the community didn't do enough. We didn't have the right values. Along each step, I was partially right. But I then realized we never really stood a chance at keeping this place alive. And you would think that would dash all my hopes. And for a while, most of my hopes were dashed. For a few years, I just sat in my room, disheveled. But in the quest to understanding my past hopes crashing down, I learned to better contextualize the present. In the quiet of the presently dead community, I began to chart a path forward to the future. We kept producing all the dumb videos, but it wasn't the hope that they'd amount to something. But hope kept me thinking. It kept me mechanizing, conceptualizing, sometimes painfully so, and figuring out what to do next. Like anyone else, at every juncture of my life, I've been forced to reckon with the choice of either furthering my own ambitions and skills or strengthening bonds with my peers, my family. Hope is best viewed not as the ingredient that keeps us going, but the prick that keeps us thinking. We have hope not because we know of the good to come, but precisely because we don't know. Thus, we can always forge a path to begin to know. Balance is a farce while sitting on unbalanced scales. Rather than placating the contrivance, there is hope that we could collectively mesh in a flowing river of unprecedented transformation. We can only ever hope for worlds to collide in the most abundant and collectively uplifting of ways. For our worlds to collide and collapse onto our troubles. I foresee it, but not when, nor how. When our worlds, they fall apart, and the walls come tumbling in. Though we may deserve it, it will be worth it. At the precipice of change, I write, with hope as my line of sight, love in my holster, and emotionality in my blood. Now we must begin to orient a plan to have it all come crashing in. The reckoning of hope deferred. The emulsification of worlds.
will be worth it.